Starting. I know it's very late. We're really burning the midnight oil because things are in chaos. And let's see if everything is working. Okay, I'm on. All right, so we are really burning the midnight oil today, but it just can't be helped. Um, I don't think, well, I do. I do know that people understand what it takes to uh, try to do what we're doing. And really it's just one step in front of the other and let God do the rest, right? But to pray is to work, and to work is to pray. And so in order to have justice, and in order to have justice restored, and have accountability in our son's case, we have to put in the work. And so that way, it's late, because life doesn't stop. You still have to do all your chores, you still have to do everything, and then you have to speak with people, and you have to listen. You have to really listen. And what we've been told from Austin, this is the big news. So let's start. 1,399 days since Richard was murdered. He was murdered on Fort Bliss. His body was removed from Fort Bliss. This is why his jurisdiction is a multiple jurisdiction. That's why the crime scene is a binational crime scene. I hope everyone can understand that, because his body was removed from Fort Bliss. He was dismembered. And that's why we had the multiple autopsy reports, and all of that was trying to be covered up to us. And that's why we had reports that Richard's remains were found there in El Paso, but also in Mexico, because they were trying to get rid of the evidence, spread it around. It's terrible. It's horrible. I just can't even tell you. I can't even believe that I can go on live stream and talk about this. But here we are. This is our protection, because this is a criminal network, and they are ruthless, and they are malicious, and you know, um, they're engaged in trafficking, right? They're engaged in trafficking, and trafficking, unfortunately, our law enforcement um, agencies have been under attack, and that is why this trafficking can continue with impunity, because our institutions, our agencies have been attacked, and they've been attacked not with pitchforks and knives and guns and whatever. They've been usurped. They've been usurped. And the biggest example of that is Bill Hicks. He politically was usurped, really canceled an election. The election canceled the votes of over 220,000 people there in El Paso for Yvonne Rosales, and usurped the 34th Judicial District Attorney's seat. And it is rightfully Yvonne Rosales. We've been going through the law. This has been a long process, and thank God for search engines and all of that, and double checking, and because we have absolutely confirmed that Yvonne Rosales right now is the rightful district attorney. Okay, but she has been usurped from that seat. And what are the motives? What motives did they have? Well, she was looking into the Walmart case. She wanted to put that on the schedule. Um, she was opened up. She was looking into Richard's case. We have that confirmed also. And then The big one here that really triggered the usurpation, and sorry, it's very late at night, and it's been a very busy day. So if I stutter a little bit, just have a little bit of mercy and grace for me. Um, the the investigation into the El Paso Community Foundation distribution of donations and funds for the Walmart mass shooting victims. The investigation into that, because of the allegations that they were committing fraud with the distribution of the donations and the funds that they had received. Um, 2 days later, the petition came out um, to unseat Yvonne Rosales. Okay? That, so the cover up of the Walmart case, the looking into Richard's case, and also looking into the El Paso Community Foundation's distribution of the donations and the funds, and the fraud that was believed to have been or was committed. So that is the motive. People want a motive. What was the motive for Richard being murdered like that? Of course, before the Walmart mass shooting, Richard had made criminal complaints. When they got back, Richard had made criminal complaints about the actions, the criminal actions going on Fort Bliss. And it created audits. This is what we've been told. This is what we've pieced together. This is what we believe happened in the whole timeline, because, you could only have so much to happen in a day, right? You could almost, so you have to piece together the timestamps, the days, the whole timeline. And with the words of Boleyn, with the actions of Boleyn, with the actions of the chain of command, with all of Richard's communications with us, what we have pieced together is that he was making complaints. He became a whistleblower before the Walmart mass shooting. And there was audits going on before then. And the Walmart mass shooting occurred. We believe that one of the motives for that was to divert the attention of the law enforcement community from the audits to a mass shooting. How can you not give that your full attention? And after that Walmart mass shooting, there was retaliation. A retaliation and a control, an attempt to control the narrative. And of course, COVID came in. And to control the narrative, you have to have media, right? So you have to have Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, and you have to have the military officers behind, because do not tell me that the military did not know that they had military officers behind the Real Fit Fam El Paso. Okay. And then, of course, the connection with KTSM and David Candelera. Okay. Absolutely. These are the three. Of course, UTEP, KTEP, because Bob Moore's wife, Kathleen Gannon, works for UTEP. Angela Kachurga works for Kathleen Gannon for KTEP. So KTEP, El Paso Matters, KTSM, and the Real Fit Fam El Paso. They were the ones that drove the narratives for El Paso. The narratives that they wanted El Pasoans to be hypnotized with. Okay. And I do say hypnotized just like because these narratives um, are manipulated, are fake, are false, are, you know, false witnesses, where you can take some truth and you can just twist them so much that it makes people think a certain way about a situation and directs their thoughts. It really is a hypnosis, right? It's a hypnosis, and so much of the media, they're pros at doing it. They're absolute pros. And we would have no idea about what was going on except for being made investigators into our son's case and having to look and face the truth of this kind of manipulation, this kind of fraud, this kind of thievery, this kind of murderous intention, maliciousness, the sex cult, um, the power in the sex cult, these threads of, the broken window fallacy, I want to call it. But in this case, in our son's case, and what's going on in El Paso, you have the trafficking, but you also have this want for crime. Because if you have these criminals that are involved in the funeral business, in the medical examiner's business, and the mortuary affairs business, they're profiting off of death, right? They're profiting off of this. And, that's a common thread. These people are, so many of them are members of that kind of business dealing. And that's pretty scary. That's pretty eerie in this. Of course, another common thread is Bob Moore of El Paso Matters. Another common thread is Leilani Hart. Another common thread is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church. Another common thread is this sex cult, right? So we're putting together these common, like with um, what is that? The cabaret um, that Leilani Hart was getting her mail at, right? So, just and who's involved in all of that. And the Melendez Mendez with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and Rascon Ortiz, right? The chief medical examiner, Mario Rascon Ortiz, connected with then Veronica Escobar and Joanne Bernal, who now is resigning. It you've got this illegal being given the rights to be a judge, and even Joanne Bernal, in an article, I believe it was El Paso Times, I should post it up, had to admit that it was that Mario Raskin Ortiz, the medical examiner's position, was a judicial position, right? So they absolutely have committed a fraud on the people of El Paso. We have a usurper DA that not only usurped that DA seat, but canceled the votes of 220 plus El Pasoans, right? And thwarted, I would say, Yvonne Rosales' time, give her the time, and work with her to prosecute the crimes in El Paso. They denied her that. And, of course, we know with John Briggs that he because we know that through Loretta Lynn Hewitt, we know that through our open records, that he was all absolutely up to no good and was, um, just a political creep in there. And this costs, this chaos cost the El Pasoans and the people of Texas millions and millions of dollars. Okay? It's not just Richard Halliday's case. This is about all El Pasoans and about Texans because it's their money that's paying for this fraud, for this, injustice and this chaos that's going on in El Paso. And that chaos is allowing the criminals to operate with impunity. And that, that now we have 85,000 missing children. We have more. We have more. I just haven't put together the numbers for 2023 and from to see if the 2024 numbers were out. But you have this sex trafficking, you have the child trafficking, you have the gun trafficking, you have the drug trafficking, and what they'll do is they'll infiltrate the system. They'll infiltrate the positions. They'll usurp the positions. And if you have somebody in there that will frame the whistleblower, that will target whistleblowers, that will plot and plan and conspire against even the law enforcement community. And like the DA, if you have one that is looking into criminal activities and absolutely wants to prosecute the criminal activities, I mean, we want someone like that. We don't want someone, being in the DA's office just partying, just having a grand old time, whatever they're doing, and letting these cases just be frozen, right? Just be frozen in time, like the Walmart case and Richard's case, and also this fraud of donations. Can you believe it? It's a charitable foundation, and they, there's a lot of evidence, y'all, that they're up to no good, right? That they're up to no good. And Yvonne Rosales was looking into that, and that really was triggering because that's a lot of money too. It's a lot of money, and it's tax free. You get these tax breaks if you're a charitable foundation, if you're a 501c3 or which is El Paso Matters. And we know now that the controlling entity for El Paso Matters is El Paso Community Foundation. Maybe they'll change it up a little bit. We know that they're under investigation. We've been being whistleblowers ourselves. We're whistleblowers ourselves. And it's connected, they're connected to, or an alliance with the Real Fit Fam El Paso, which now, this is the breaking news. Every day is breaking news. We're in communication with Austin, and Austin has, confirmed that there's some real problems with the Real Fit Fam El Paso, that they are not who they say they are, that there seems to be some, dirty laundry, that their house is not in order, that there seems to be some tax evasion going on, and they're not what they say they are. And for everyone out there that, we've heard that, they've posted up false and fake stories and then wanted to charge you for taking them down. You need to know this. You need to know that these bullies are not who they say they are. And we know that the military officers were behind them. Jules Chan and his brother, and more. And, so this is, and they wanted to be anonymous and do this to El Pasoans by being anonymous. And, and now we're in communication with Austin, and it is clear that they are not running the show like they should, and that there is real, seems to be apparently, seemingly, allegedly, there is tax evasion. So, yeah, and this is a for-profit by, and you have to remember this when you have military active duty um, officers that have security clearances and they are involved in profiting in a for-profit news, right? Using what they know through their, because they even admitted it. They even admitted it in their anonymous interview, that they're using what they know because of their day job, because of working with the city, having that privilege, and using it. That's illegal. They are committing a crime, and it is a national security threat. And it just shows that, something is very, very wrong. And, we knew things were stinky. We didn't know where the smell was coming from. Now we're starting to know where the smell is coming from. And it's coming from El Paso Matters. It's coming from the Real Fit Fam El Paso. It's coming from KTSM. It's coming from 3905 Bliss Avenue. It's coming from the mortuary affairs and this funeral home string, ties, the thing that ties, and the Latter-day Saints that ties it together. Um, and it's pretty stinky, and it's pretty deadly, and it's pretty malicious, and it's pretty criminal. And, and of course, the stink too is coming from the DA's office right now. And we really need Yvonne Rosales. And I'm, um, you know, we just want to show her support. And why is that so important to us? Number one, we have been through the harassment, the psyops, the continuing blah, blah, blah in your ear, blah, blah, blah in your ear. This is how it is. This is how it is. The narrative psyops. They'll do it in a mean way, in a malicious way, but they'll also do it in a friendly way. And, you know, so I can't even imagine a person in her position, the the psyops, the psychological talk, the trying to control what's going on through controlling the narrative, trying to control the actions of Yvonne Rosales. And so we want to support her to say, look, don't forget that over 220,000 people voted for you. They voted for you, and they are sick and tired of crime not being prosecuted by the DA's office there in the 34th Judicial District's office. They're tired of what is going on, being charged all these taxes and not getting anything for their money. They want their safety. They want their city. And, you know, we got to get the crime under control, and the DA's office is the place to do it. They are the prosecutors, and they're more than just the prosecutors, because they do investigate. They investigate what the investigating agencies have been given to them, because they're the prosecutors. And I know that because I've been talking to quite a few lawyers. We've been talking to quite a few lawyers, especially out of, well, I don't want to say where they're out of, because, you know, and what we have found out um, is that they investigate absolutely what they're about to prosecute, in a wrongful death suit, or Other instances, in our son's case, they want to have good hard evidence. Circumstantial evidence is good, irregularities are good, but good hard evidence to back up the stand that we're taking. So, absolutely, if a prosecutor is going to give someone the lethal injection, they have to have the hard evidence to say, beyond a reasonable doubt that, this person has and deserves the death penalty. And, so, the DA's office is super important. And that's why the usurpers and the trespassers, like Bill Hicks, because I've heard that there's others, that, they need to be exposed, and the rightful DAs and the rightful narrative, we don't expect Yvonne Rosales to be perfect, right? We don't expect um, our our officials to be perfect, but we do hold them up to a higher standard. Of course, we hold them up to a higher standard. That's why they're elected. And so we do expect her and I'm going to be a little tough here. She decided to run for district attorney. She absolutely knows the law. 220 plus thousand people voted for her. She cannot, in my, being a mom, sometimes I didn't feel like doing this or didn't feel like doing that, right? Oh, they're hungry. They need to eat. I need to cook. Then I need to cook. I can't say, oh, I don't feel like it today, right? Just go hungry or just whatever. Um, you know, it's called selfless service. And you have to put yourself aside and your fears aside. And, I don't really want to get answers and all of this for Richard um, in my own little personal world. This is hard work. Hey, let me go do this. Let me go paint. I'd like to paint my paintings, right? Um, but God puts something in front of you. You have a duty, you have a character, you have a duty, and it is absolutely our duty to get justice for our son. It's absolutely our duty to make sure that these people don't smear his memory, right? And that there's accountability for this gruesome, very violent crime that they perpetrated against our son. And these murderers, these gruesome murderers, these dismemberers, these colluders and conspirators, because they had to conspire together to do it, right? They cannot, we cannot just look the other way. They have to be exposed. They have to be arrested. They have to be prosecuted. Document their crime, identify who they are, and then we need to prosecute them. And so this is something we have to do, whether we feel like it or not. And this is what Yvonne Rosales, and I just want to tell her, put on your boots, put on your heels, put on the armor of God, gird up your belt, right? Just make it tight and put your head up. And if you're crying a little bit, we all understand. We understand. I cry every day, right? And crying is to me, when you're taking your rightful place, when you are asserting your rights, and doing your duty, it can get very emotional. And so, especially after you've been bullied, You've been attacked the way you've been attacked. You've been psyoped, with all the blah 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 blah. Everyone has their opinion, and But the bottom line is that you are, and I'm speaking to Yvonne Rosales, you are under the law, the Texas Constitution. You are the rightful district attorney, and you need to assert your rights for yourself, for others that suffered with you, because others suffered with you. We know who they are. And for El Pasoans that have suffered since, because the Walmart case has been frozen, the fraud cases have been frozen, Richard's case have been frozen, very violent murders, rapes, whatever, have not been prosecuted. These people have not been brought to justice. And so this needs to happen. I'm not the smart one to do it. You're the one that went to law school. You're the one that knows El Paso. You're the one for the job. So says over 220,000 people. And so, put aside any weakness, strengthen yourself, even if it is with a tear coming out. And put aside any kind of real anger. You have to be super professional. And that's been really tough for us because, the betrayal of the military is just heart-wrenching. Heart-wrenching. Okay? And they absolutely have betrayed us. I just can't even describe it. So, but we have to leave that to the side and bring them to justice. Leave the anger, because the anger will eat you up, and it makes you not think straight, right? Then you don't think straight. It's like, I like to have a nice glass of wine or a good beer. I love a good beer. But, since this happened, it's like, no, I am in, I have to stay alert. I have to stay focused. I have to stay awake, and make sure that I'm paying attention and doing justice for our son, for our family, for the service members that are in the military that are under this kind of rotten leadership, because with leadership like this, who needs enemies? And so you just have to do selfless service and stay alert and put things aside and go forward. And for Yvonne Rosales, she needs to go forward to that 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office and say, I am here. I am back. And I'm asserting my rights. And everyone knows now, because we have had time to collect the evidence, and it's hard evidence that Bill Hicks is not only a usurper of the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office, but he is a felon. He's committed felon crimes. He's committed felon crimes, and he needs to be arrested. And El Pasoans need justice. So I came on late. We put together this poem to try to reach out to the people of El Paso to make them understand how they've been cheated, how they have absolutely been assaulted and cheated by the 34th Judicial District Attorney's usurpation by Bill Hicks. It's huge. And, and I want to get on with Veronica Escobar on what she's trying to do. And she needs to be arrested. Okay. I mean, that woman needs to be arrested too. And so do not trust her. What she's doing, she's up to no good. I would not trust her for anything. And then the whole Mario Rascon Ortiz medical examiner, illegal medical examiner. That's a whole nother story. Tonight we're going to focus on Yvonne Rosales because uh, things are happening behind the scenes. We have a lot of support. A lot of support. You have to understand. We've been in communication with every dean that we could possibly find, right? Across the United States for any law school. Okay. Uh, we've been in communication with many lawyers, many lawyers, and every time it's a great thing because we learn something new every time. They are just they're just let me tell you this, the lawyers are crying out to do their rightful job too. They are miserable with the injustice that's going on. And they can have millions of dollars. They can be being paid loads of money, but they're absolutely miserable, um, with the injustice that's going on that is hindering them from doing their jobs. And you can say, "Oh, what all you want about lawyers," and I understand. It can be really really rotten, and you have rotten ones out there, but you also have good ones that get also targeted and harassed and manipulated, and they get into trouble, and that trouble is used against them, and they get threatened and all kinds of stuff. And so, yeah, it is very educational every time we speak to a lawyer and what is happening um, in that area. And the people are ready we're hearing it everywhere. You see it in Georgia, you see it in Oregon, you see it in New York. Today, President Trump even went into the Bronx, and they showed him love. Um, you know, People are ready to have justice, right? To get justice, to stop the crime wave that has plagued the United States. So the time is right, and there's no guarantees. That's why you have to be courageous. That's why you have to be fearless. There's no guarantees. Um, you just have to do what's right. And if you're a Christian and you do what's right, then you do have a glorious guarantee. But day to day, you've just got to do what's right. And yeah, so we put together the poem for her to hopefully understand um, that she has support, and that all the narrative, all the psyops, they, hopefully this will cut through them, melt them away, because sometimes those psyops can be like a cloud of fog around you and you don't see straight. So this is kind of like light shining on fog, the sunshine, uh, shining down on the fog and burning it up so she can see straight and know that, you know, she does have a big job in front of her, but she has support. She has mega support. And that is what we're hearing. And that is very, very important for El Paso. So, um, going on to FitFam El Paso, the Austin news was really shocking to us. That seemingly there is a tax fraud tax evasion. And yeah, and this is military personnel behind this, and they've been up to no good. And they targeted our, this is what is so hurtful. Bob Moore, I don't think he ever served in the military. So him attacking our son is absolutely horrible. He knows better. You know what I mean? He knows better. And it is a total false narrative. It's based on a botched and old findings. We have new findings now. We have the casualty report that we were given. Bob didn't even bother to ask us about it, didn't even return any of our communications. We have like 15 communications, attempted communications with him. And as a journalist and writing a story, he should get our comment. He should absolutely have contacted us. That is not the case. He just decided to twist the narrative. And, we have plenty of evidence um, against his twisted story that really attacks Richard and attacks me, attacks our family. And so that's defamation. I believe that's defamation. And then, of course, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. But the Real Fit Fam El Paso took on that story too. And we asked them to take it down. This is before we knew that these were military officers behind this, right? And more, right? And we asked them, we told them that it's not right. Take it down. They ignored us. We offered to pay them to put up a story from our point of view. They ignored us. We did our investigation. Team Find Richard Halliday investigated who they were. We discovered that, the address of the Real Fit Fam El Paso, and that exposed the agent for that entity and the officers behind it, and more. Fit Fam El Paso, woo! And connecting them to a Dallas Hart, connecting them to Ernest Christopher Grant, and more, and more. And that is what was the response. And this is Mother's Day weekend. Take it down, take it down. Our exposure of them, they wanted us to take it down. And we took down the story now. You need to take down. And, I'm trying to celebrate Mother's Day. Yeah, so we're like, wow, they're nervous. Then we find out that this was supposed to be a secret all along, that they were supposed to be anonymous all along, that they were claiming to be anonymous all along. And it's like, wow, okay, yeah, we've opened up a can of worms they didn't want anyone to see. And so we looked into it a little bit more, and guess what they did? They took down their LinkedIns. They took down their LinkedIns right away. They took down they just ghosted themselves, right? They just hid themselves, right? So anyway, that was an epic response, right? That was an epic response. So, and very, very telling. But we're getting to be experts in saving things to PDF and screenshots and all of that because of, you know, being asked to be investigators and 4 years of doing this. And then we hear from Austin, oh yeah, there seemingly there is tax evasion going on. Um, wow. I mean, if that is not crazy. And why was that so hurtful? It was so hurtful because, unlike Bob Moore, these are military. They, they're trained to have the Medal of Honor ethos, to have esprit de corps, to leave no soldier behind, to be an army of one, to be army strong, to be all you can be, to have creeds, to have an ethics. This is what trillions of dollars, year after year, training after training after training after training after training. And I know because I was married, 30-year veteran, training, training, training. That is what they do, is train. And they know better. They know better. You leave no soldier behind. You have each other's six. You are an army of one. And you leave no one behind. It goes on and on. You have an obligation to these young, new recruits that come in. And you have an obligation to be held to a higher standard. And as an officer, you really are held to a higher standard. If you're an NCO, a higher standard. If you're an officer, absolutely, you're commissioned to a higher standard. And to be betrayed by the Real Fit Fam El Paso officers, and to see that they have betrayed their Secret Service clearance. They know better. All they do is get trained. They train. Yes, they get deployed, but their main job is to be trained. So they get this day in and day out. And yet they betray. And for that, the crime is much bigger. Is much bigger. I don't know this journalistic training of Bob Moore. And I do know that he should have called us. But I think he is answering to El Paso Community Foundation, right? That's who he's answering to. Even though he's committing fraud by this 501c3, right? Trying to be neutral, which he's not neutral. Yeah, and then, let's get to KTSM. KTSM with Danae Katzen. So David Candelara being connected to the Real Fit Fam El Paso. He's connected to them. And then with Danae, and you have to understand the prime suspect is Dallas Hart. So why is David Candelara trying to protect Dallas Hart? This is a big question. And he's using, NBC's local KTSM wrongly. And I think he knows better too. I think he knows better. And I think that Natasia Paloma, who I've reached out to and refuses to communicate. See, they refuse to communicate because they're scared stiff. They're scared. They know that these people have a history of retaliation. They have a history of violent crime. They have a history of fraud. They have a history of, all kinds of stuff. And they are so afraid. And I don't think she's in on it with them. Maybe, I don't know. But she didn't get back. And so I think she's afraid. And that's why we need to show Yvonne Rosales a lot of support, because she is a target. And we need to start understanding that if we want justice, we need to absolutely scrutinize our judges. And the good judges that judge justly, we need to really rally around, because they are targeted. Austin, well, the other discussion and information that we were learning is that the judges are the most targeted. And so for everyone to understand, that means that there is a huge infiltration in our judges, because they have successfully replaced honorable judges with political puppets, or whatever you want to call them. And so this needs to be really watched and scrutinized. And I know it takes a lot of time out of our day, because people are doing their jobs. They're doing our jobs, but you know what? All of our jobs, all of our livelihoods are being threatened because of their usurpation or their infiltration. So we need to start paying attention and really demanding just judges. So this, because the DA's office and the whole Walmart case, Judge Medrano, what's going on with him? It's so clear that he has committed crimes with the Walmart case, because not one in 5 years, not one scheduling event has been put out there. Not one. That's on him. And Patrick Crusius, we're supposed to be, where's all the people that care about humans and human rights and all of that? Because Patrick Crusius is sitting in isolation. Murderers are walking around, because we know it was multiple shooters. Patrick Crusius is sitting in prison. He has 1,000 years that he can be in prison. They could shut this all down, or they could do a mental health evaluation on him. They haven't even done that yet, that we know of, because there's not been one scheduling. Not even a scheduling, oh yeah, let's do a mental health evaluation on Patrick Crusius, right? And he's sitting in isolation, not even allowed to address the people. I mean, with Joe Spencer and Felix Valenzuela, who needs enemies? If those are your attorneys, you better run, because they're up to no good. So, yeah, I don't know who are they defending? It's not Patrick Crusius, because Patrick Crusius, even being part of this, he deserves a fair trial, because that's our system. And we don't work on emotions, we work on the law. We work the wheels of justice, the laws of our land. That is what makes everything run, not our emotions, because then we're just going to be really in chaos. Okay, so if you have some time to, put out a message, maybe on your social media, maybe, uh, you know, I don't know. I don't know how we can do it. If you have some good ideas, just to send a message to Yvonne Rosales of support. I think that's very important. And, with this case going forward, um, and all the other cases going forward, this is very, very important. Um, yeah, I'm stunned at everything that's coming out, but we're in a very, very good place now with talking to the lawyers, and we can't stop now. So we need a lot of sharing, a lot of comments, a lot of likes. Of course, we're being shadow banned, so just take, uh, the information and put it up on social media. The justice, um, who said it best? Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. We were driven to do the right thing, right? They have to be driven to do the right thing. And that's a sad truth. That's a sad truth, but it is true. And so everything requires support. And yeah, thank you so much. Can you imagine when only the newspapers were doing this? People couldn't even get out the information. But we have social media, we have these live streams, and so please share the information. So thank you so much. God bless you. I'll be back tomorrow, God willing, and please share, comment, and like.